Take a moment and look around you. The chair you're sitting in, the walls of the room, the phone in your hand, they all feel completely solid, completely real, completely permanent. And now think about the relationships in your life, your sense of who you are, the identity you've built over years and decades. That feels solid too, doesn't it? Like bedrock, like something you can count on. But what if that solidity, all of it, is an illusion? What if the very things you're gripping the tightest are the things that were never truly fixed to begin with? In chapter 14 of The Untethered Soul, Michael Singer takes us to the heart of one of the most liberating and unsettling truths in spiritual life, the concept of letting go of false solidity. Everything you've built your sense of security around, your possessions, your relationships, your self-image, is in constant flux. And the moment you stop resisting that truth and start working with it, something extraordinary happens. The suffering begins to lift. Stay with me, because this chapter might quietly change the way you see everything. Let's start with something simple. Think about a river. From a distance, it looks like a single stable thing, the river. But if you actually step into it, you realize there's not one drop of water that was there a moment ago. It's all moving. It's all changing. The river never stops, and yet we call it the river as though it's fixed. Michael Singer is pointing at something very similar when he talks about how we relate to the world around us. We move through life treating everything as though it has a kind of permanence it simply doesn't have. Our homes, our jobs, our sense of who we are, we treat these things like they're carved in stone. We build mental models of reality, and then we live inside those models as if the map is the territory. But the world itself doesn't cooperate with that story. Everything is flowing. Relationships shift. Circumstances change. The person you were 10 years ago is genuinely not the same person sitting here now. Your cells have changed. Your beliefs have shifted. Your life looks different. Singer wants us to sit with the discomfort of that truth rather than paper over it. Because the moment we start seeing the world as it actually is, fluid, dynamic, ever-moving, we stop fighting a battle we were never going to win. Letting go of false solidity starts right here, with the willingness to see clearly. So if everything is naturally flowing and changing, why do we suffer? Singer's answer is quietly profound. We suffer because we resist. We don't just acknowledge that things change, we fight it. We dig in. We try to hold the river in place. Think about a time you lost something, a relationship that ended, a job that disappeared, a version of your life that didn't survive. The pain wasn't just in the loss itself. A huge part of the pain was in the resistance, the bargaining, the replaying, the this shouldn't be happening. That resistance is what turns inevitable change into prolonged suffering. Singer draws a very clear line here. Impermanence is not the problem. Our attachment to permanence is the problem. We've unconsciously signed a contract with life that says, the things I love must stay exactly as they are. And life, of course, never agreed to those terms. What's fascinating is how much energy we pour into maintaining the illusion. We control, we plan, we accumulate, we repeat familiar patterns, all in service of keeping reality feeling stable. But that stability was never real. It was always borrowed time. And when we understand that, really understand it, not just intellectually, but in the body, in the gut, something begins to relax. We stop white-knuckling our way through existence. Letting go of false solidity isn't resignation. It's the beginning of genuine peace. Now, here's where Singer gets really interesting. He points directly at the ego as the architect of false solidity. The ego's entire project is to create and maintain a fixed, separate self. It wants there to be a you, a definite, bounded, consistent entity that persists through time and needs protecting. And to do that, it has to construct a very convincing story. Your name, your history, your preferences, your wounds, your achievements. The ego bundles all of this together and says, this is who you are, this is solid, this is real, protect it. And then it goes to work. It monitors for threats, it compares, it defends, it accumulates things, possessions, status, certainty, to reinforce the sense that this self is secure and stable. But Singer is asking us to look more carefully. When you actually try to find this fixed self, where is it? You can find thoughts about yourself, you can find feelings and memories, but the one who is watching all of that, the awareness itself, doesn't have a shape. It doesn't have a fixed location. It's not a thing. The ego's solidity is a construction, not a discovery. And as long as we keep feeding that construction, we keep suffering. The spiritual invitation here is to see the ego's game clearly, not to destroy the ego in some violent way, but simply to stop mistaking the story for the truth. So how do we actually begin to work with this? Singer's answer throughout the Untethered Soul, and particularly in this chapter, comes back to the practice of witnessing. When you can watch your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your experiences from a place of inner stillness, rather than being swept away by them, something genuinely shifts. You start to notice that thoughts arise and pass, emotions rise and fall. Even your most deeply held beliefs, when you actually observe them honestly, turn out to be mental objects that move through awareness. They're not the bedrock you thought they were. This is the practice of letting go of false solidity in real time. Not suppressing your thoughts, not pretending you don't have preferences or feelings, but learning to hold them more lightly, to see them as events in consciousness rather than the truth of who you are. There's a beautiful shift that happens when you do this consistently. The world stops feeling like something that needs to be constantly managed and controlled, because you're no longer identifying so completely with the part of you that needs to manage and control. You become, as Singer describes, the witness, the awareness that observes everything but is not defined by anything. And from that place, impermanence stops being terrifying. It becomes almost beautiful. Things arise, things pass, and the awareness that watches it all remains untouched. Here's what Singer is ultimately pointing toward in this chapter. There is a natural flow to life, and when you stop fighting it, you discover a kind of peace that no amount of control or accumulation could ever give you. This is the destination that letting go of false solidity actually leads to. Not emptiness, not indifference, not a cold detachment from the people and things you love, but a deep, grounded ease that comes from no longer trying to hold a river still. When you release your grip on the illusion of permanence, you don't lose life. You actually start living it more fully. You're present with people rather than constantly managing them. You experience joy without immediately trying to preserve it. You move through difficulty without being completely undone by it, because you're no longer in shock that hard things happen. Singer talks about aligning with the flow of life, and this is what he means. Not passive resignation, but active surrender. A choice, made again and again, to work with reality rather than against it, to let what is be. This kind of surrender takes real courage. It's not the easy path, but according to Singer, it's the only path that leads to genuine freedom. And that freedom, that open, undefended way of moving through the world, is available right now. Not after you've fixed everything, not after circumstances change. Right now, in this breath, you can begin to release the grip. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit with this chapter today. It's one that rewards slow, honest reflection. I'd love to know, where in your own life do you feel yourself gripping hardest? What's the one thing you find most difficult to let be impermanent? Drop it in the comments, whatever comes up honestly, because I think those answers can be genuinely illuminating for everyone here. If this kind of deep, unhurried exploration of the untethered soul resonates with you, consider subscribing. We're working through the whole book chapter by chapter, and there's a lot more still to come. It means a lot to have you here.